So we're going to go through all four of the organic molecules. So nucleic acids and lipids, proteins, and the one you probably know the most, carbohydrates, right? And I want you to remember function and structure. You can't change one and not affect the other. Basically, if you change that structure, the function is going to change. So keep that in mind. So nucleic acids. So right there, the big pair of lips is like the spot there. Stores biological info in a sequence of nucleotides. There we go back to that chain, right? Nucleotides put together in a certain order give you DNA. Now I want to add something to this. It says not only does it stores, but you can say it transmits. Transmits. I think that's how you spell it. Transmits that genetic information. It stores it through DNA. It transmits it, and I think you all understand what transmit means. I'm transmitting my voice out, right? I'm sending it out. So it sends out those instructions through RNA. And if you, if you didn't have Bio 1 in high school, okay. But I think you all can do it. Okay, so the monomers for nucleotides. The monomers for nucleic acids are nucleotides. And so what you're going to see over there to the right is a picture. This is RNA. That's what it looks like. It looks like, you might see it. It might look like a curved line. It might look like a straight line, but it's going to have all those little multicolored flags. Those are your nucleotide bases, right? But you'll see it. It's just a portion of DNA that has instructions for some kind of protein that needs made and sent out. So it's going to send out those instructions. And so what you notice, if you look at the nucleotides, don't they look very similar? I mean, identically. I mean, if you look at it without any words, they look really close together. They're all the same. The only difference is the sugar is going to be a little different, and they might change with a base. Okay? Now, for RNA, your bases are going to be adenine. Probably should spell it out. Adenine, guanine, cytosine, and one called uracil. Those are the bases that it will carry. That's the bases it's going to carry. And in this case, RNA, the sugar here is going to be ribose, because it's ribonucleic acid. Ribonucleic acid. So this is the guy, the creature, the thing that transmits the instructions from your DNA. I want you to remember, RNA is expendable. It can be trashed. It's cheap to make for our body. So we don't hesitate to break it apart and reuse it. Now, DNA, we don't want to use it like that. So it's very precious, so we don't want to change it. If we change it, we start getting mutations and things start to happen. So the DNA molecule, deoxyribonucleic acid, it's a double helix. And again, if you see it, it does have, here's your base, here's this, up here, this could be your adenine, your thymine, or in this case, uracil, G, you get it. When we get to genetics, you'll understand that quickly. That's pretty simple. But here are the same kind of bases. Now, let's go back. Look, the nucleotides almost look the same. The sugar up here is ribose. This one is called deoxyribose. Can't remember how to spell it, guys. That's deoxyribose. And the bases are almost the same. You have cytosine, you have guanine, you have adenine. Anybody remember from Bio 1 what you have there instead of a uracil? Thymine. Nice. Yeah, A goes with T. So this is the guy that stores all the genetic information. Okay, questions? All right. We're going to get into these much deeper, so this is your 30,000 foot flyover. Okay, proteins. There are roughly 2,000 some proteins in the human body, all having a different function. One protein has one function. Okay, proteins have different structures and functions. Remember, you'll see this really readily with proteins. If you don't follow the same, if you don't follow the recipe for making a protein, so you don't put your amino acids in the right order, because proteins are made up of single amino acids because that's their monomer. It's going to change it. Okay? But what proteins do, here's their purpose, and there's multiple. So I'm just going to tell you. You write them down. They build structure of the human body, or of all living things, like our hair, nails, skin, bone. Builds that structure. You guys ever heard of collagen? Collagen, it makes your nails like steel. So if you put it in your drink, it's supposed to make your skin better, your hair grow faster. So that's that support. But there are also some that are hormones. So write that down, hormones. If you don't know how to spell it, here's what it looks like. Those are chemical messengers. So they are messengers that tell your body to do something. So like right now, you guys are all growing. I'm not. So your pituitary gland is pumping out a hormone called HGH, human growth hormone, and it's telling your bodies to grow and get bigger. Eventually it's going to stop. But hormones are messengers, and there's thousands of others. Okay? Some are enzymes. Enzymes are like biological gasoline. They make chemical reactions in our body happen faster. If it wasn't for the enzymes in the body, we couldn't live, because the chemical reactions that are taking place there naturally take maybe months, weeks, years, so we couldn't live. Okay, so for now, let's just stop there. Now, the monomers are amino acids. Okay, now help me out. Did I tell you how many there were? How many? They're like 20. Did I tell you that? Because I've told so many people. There's 20 amino acids in the body. 11 we make. 11 we make. 9 we have to get from our food. Okay, and so right here's an amino acid. You can see, are these two protein strands? Here's protein strand 1, protein strand 2. You notice they give it a really fancy name. Peptide just means protein. But if it says poly, that means many proteins. Polypeptide sequence. So look, they're different, aren't they? This would be a different one. Here you go to match. So they're not going to function the same. Keep that in mind, especially when we get into our protein folding. Okay. Next one. Oh, carbs. Cross-country runners, I guess you're going to carb up tonight. Nice. Okay, main energy source, quick energy. This is our main one. Even though lipids contain more energy, this is our main energy source. This is roughly, at the most, 60% of our diet. You guys ever heard of the carnivore diet? I guess if you're on the carnivore diet, that means you eat meat constantly. No carbs. After a month of suffering, then your body adjusts, and then you really drop weight, I guess. But to me, I think it's kind of unsustainable. Anyway, so Again, the monomer is called a monosaccharide. Mono means what number? Can't hear you. I'm getting old and deaf and I got a fan on. 1. Saccharide means, I would be surprised if you knew it, sugar. Anytime you see that word saccharide, that means sugar. Anytime you hear the word saccharide, sugar. So this is a one sugar molecule called a monosaccharide. That is the monomer for carbs. And when you eat them, you get all kinds of them. So down below it, you're going to see, here's 2 examples. There's a glucose molecule. That is a monomer. That is a monosaccharide. And then you got fructose. Right now, our bodies are taking our breakfast and it's changing it down to this. This is our muscle fuel right here. This is the sugar you're going to find in fruits, fructose. Now, I want to point this out. I want you to, when you write down glucose, I want you to write that OSE. Anytime you see OSE, that's denoting you're looking at a sugar. You're looking at a sugar. So here's fructose. Anytime you see OS, do you guys know what paper's called that you're writing on? Cellulose. So the paper you're writing on is a sugar. It's not very sweet. I used to eat it, spit it, chew it up. When I was in high school, I don't do it anymore. Be glad to know that. But even that, cellulose, it's a sugar. But it's a monster sugar. Big. So these are all single. And if you look, if you put them together, you link them up, you get a carbohydrate. Carbohydrate could be a starch. Could be a starch. That's one example. That's a really long one. So you guys are going to eat some pasta tonight. It's going to take your body about a day and a half to break it down so you can get that energy, because your body's got to break that starch. And every time it breaks that, it releases energy. Okay, starch, cellulose is one. Okay, so another name for these are this. Simple sugars. Monosaccharide, one sugar, simple sugar. Simple just means it's very easy to obtain the energy from it. Very easy to obtain energy. Now, carbohydrates that are big like this, they're called complex. Complex carbs. Complex just means it's going to take a long time to get the energy out, because it's got to break that long chain. And again, we can eat paper, but we can't digest it because it won't stay in our system long enough. Okay? Any questions? Nice. Last one, lipids. Hopefully you're paying attention and not talking while I'm talking. That irritates me. Okay, lipids. Energy storage. Energy storage. Long-term energy storage. Bears do it. They hibernate in the winter. How do they survive? They live off body fat that they've accrued throughout the year. So when they wake up, they're eating like mad, and they're putting on all this weight. Okay? So that's our main way of storing energy. And it's made to work that way because of a hard time. Human beings, we don't have too many hard times. Like if there were a drought for like 10 years, then we would start to feel it. There would be a lot of people dying. They would be going through their body fat because there just wouldn't be anything to eat. But lipids also insulate. Not only do they store energy, but they insulate. They keep the warm in and they keep the cold out, so they insulate you. A bear doesn't have a blanket when it's in the cave. It's got a nice layer of fat. Whales have blubber. That's just their way of saying fat. Even though they are swimming in water, sometimes it's below 32 degrees. They're safe, they're warm, they're fine. Non-polar. See that over there? Non-polar means it doesn't have opposite ends like a water molecule. There's none of this. It's non-polar. I have this up here. I invite you to shake it. Here's water. Here's oil. This is a lipid, right? It will not mix with water no matter what, because this has positive and negative charges. This does not. So if you shake it, put it down, it already starts to go back. It's not polar. Okay, insulates and let's put protects. I mean, if you got a thick layer of fat on you and somebody hits you like a grizzly bear, you're not going to hurt that grizzly bear. Right? Okay, here's some examples of lipids. Fats, waxes, and any kind of oil that you can cook with. Candles, Scentsy, you burn those, that's a fat, waxes, and oils. Okay? Now, you notice there, the monomer is a fatty acid, polymer is a lipid. There are no monomers. They're just big, bulky molecules. So they don't have true monomers. So you will never see them, individual ones, in a chain. They're just big and bulky on their own. Okay? And you'll see that when we get a little more involved. Okay? Now, last thing. Do you guys remember that from the scavenger hunt? I think very few people miss this. You've heard of saturated fat and unsaturated fat? Okay? What you're seeing here is a fatty acid. It's a tail. And you'll notice that it has a carbon backbone. They both have carbon backbones. This one, though, is crooked. In a biology conference, they called it a kinky tail because it has a kink in it, and so it bends. But you'll notice this one here is straight. It doesn't have any kinks in it. Straight. This one's curved, this one's straight. So when you see where it says saturated, that means it's saturated with hydrogen. Saturated with this one not. Look, it's missing. Here and here. It's missing too. So that changes the shape. And when you change the shape, you change the function. This one here is a liquid at room temperature. Because those kinky tails, they won't let it settle into a solid. This one is straight. So this one will be a solid at room temperature, like lard. Because those tails lay straight on each other. Okay, this one is supposed to be good for you. This one is supposed to be bad for you, but I don't know. My grandmother lived to 94, and that's all she ever cooked with, was like saturated fat. Okay? And then phospholipids. These make up our cell membranes. This is our cell membrane. Think about that. Your cell membrane is made out of fats. Made out of fats. Very important. Very important. Now, pick this up. Loves H2O. So when it's in the presence of water, it will turn into it. This one. This side hates H2O. So it'll turn away from water. So if you had a handful of those and you threw them into water, what they would do is they would make a bubble with the heads facing the water and the fatty acid tails inside. That's how that would work. Okay. All right. Let's stop this show.